Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So today I wanted to talk about the effect that this virus, I'm not going to name it, has had on the Yu-Gi-Oh market. Obviously a lot of other Yu-Gi-Oh YouTube personalities have made videos on this. People in Pokemon and Magic have also, and Sports Card have made videos talking about this stuff. So one thing, and I haven't watched all of the videos that talk about this subject, but kind of wanted to give you my thoughts on what we should expect to see during this drop in the this market drop. Obviously this has affected millions of people. If you look at the unemployment rates and the unemployment numbers recently, I mean, it spiked. Millions of people are losing their jobs because a lot of what they do interact with people and customers on a daily basis. And with the virus spreading as it has, lots of directives have been put in place to minimize exposure to other people, social distancing. So with a lot of people losing their jobs, it obviously means there's less money to be going around spending on hobbies, Yu-Gi-Oh cards. The problem with Yu-Gi-Oh is that, in all card games, is that it's a very illiquid market. I mean, if you want to sell one of your cards, it's not like selling a stock. You have to find a buyer. You guys have to agree on a price. You have to ship the item, blah, blah, blah. There might be some other disputes. So it's a lot more difficult to cash out if you need to sell your cards, which is why a lot of people, when crisis comes, they sell at a much, much lower rate than what their cards are worth because, I mean, they just need to find a buyer quick. So what you should expect to see is that higher end cards are generally not going to change in price. And I have a couple examples to show that kind of illustrate my points. First one being this Yugioh ended yesterday. I would consider Yada to be a higher end card because of Legacy of Darkness has all those centering issues. So, you know, Yada and Injection Fairy Lily are obviously very expensive cards, 1,000 plus. And you can see that here. I mean, Yugioh still sold for $1,000. That's about where one of these cards should sell for. Because the people who can afford to pay this kind of money and the people who are in the game of these higher end cards, it's hard to really express it, but I think generally they're not really affected that much. Either they continue to have money, you know, whatever they do, they're able to work at home. You know, lots of people who are in these professional professions are able to do their work entirely from home. So really all that's happened to them is they've just shifted and they're not going into the office. So the people who can afford these cards continue to have money. Where you're going to see the biggest hits, the biggest drops in price, are the mid to lower end cards. Because those are the budget people, the people who collect, you know, if they have side money, if they've been saving up for a while, they want a certain card. They can't do that anymore because they've lost their job. You know, they may have to sell, you might have to see people selling their cards because they need money to pay their bills, right? So here are some examples of what I'm talking about. I would consider Thousand Dragon not to be a higher end card. I think generally this card should sell for about $750 in that area, 600 to 800 basically. This was a card that ended about a week ago, and it only had 2 bids for $500. Now I understand the title isn't great. You know, it doesn't have the card number MRD 143, but the lack of activity is what's interesting. So the starting price was $400, and just when the item was about to end, you just had 2 people bidding, one for $500 and one for $510. That's not a lot of activity. There's only 2 people gunning for this card when this card generally sells for around $700. So there's a pretty big drop in price for this card. The other card from the same seller, this is the one I bought recently, you may have seen, is this one. Again, it was the same thing. There was one other person bidding, and it was me and another person, and the starting price was 300. The other guy bid 350, and I beat him to it. Again, low bid activity. I know he didn't have the title, the card number PSV084 in this title, but still, he has PSA 10. He's got a good picture. He's got the card name, first edition. Didn't end at a weird time. 4:45 p.m. is not a weird time to end a card. This was definitely very, very cheap. These cards usually are 500 plus. I think 450 maybe to 600, something like that. Certainly that's what people are listing them on eBay, and I know people are not necessarily buying at those prices. So the last one, which is the most startling, is the one that ended yesterday. This is a PSA 10. I don't know why that's doing that. Here we go. This is a PSA 10 Buster Blader. This is a new certification, 46 million. First edition. I mean, it looks great. Yeah, it looks great. It has the card title in the name. PSA 10 Gem Mint, good picture. There were 59 bids, sure. But the fact that it ended so cheap, you know how people go. They bid, I don't know, $2 at a time. Just throw your max bid on there, at the very end, and that's how you should be bidding. But anyways, $255 for a PSA 10 Buster Blader. Now this card I've seen go for $450. I believe I've seen that. There's a few listings on there now for $500. 2 listings that have not sold. So it seems to be slightly less than $500. Probably $450 is what this card should sell for. And to get it for nearly half of that price is kind of startling. That's a real good indication that, wow, these mid-tier cards are really dropping in price, because the people who can afford or who are in the game for mid-tier cards are a lot less. Those are your normal people who may have lost their jobs. So basically, I'm just making this video to say, if you're in the market for these mid-tier cards, be on the lookout. I think that over the next few weeks and few months, as this thing progresses, and if we continue to be in lockdown, you'll start seeing more and more cards go up for sale and be selling for lower prices, because people need to pay their bills, and because people need to pay their bills, there's less people buying them, and people who are high-end collectors already have this stuff. So it kind of leaves the door open for you able to get these cards for a lot cheaper than they normally sell for. I mean, no one can argue that $255 for a PSA 10 Buster Blader is not a good deal. I mean, that's a phenomenal deal. I would buy that every day of the week. That's great. Iconic card. It's really old. What is it, 2002? I mean, I don't know the pop, but whatever. Guys, that's all I had. I just wanted to kind of make everybody aware that, if you're in the market to buy some of this stuff, then keep your eyes open, and but always make sure that you're taking care of you and yours first. Take care of your bills and your family before you go out and you buy this stuff, because you never know. Like I said, this stuff is not liquid. This guy has probably tried. Oh, it's TCA Gaming. Wow. I don't know how long TCA Gaming has been trying to sell this card, but I'm sure it's been for a while. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time.